Supreme Court froze a lower court order that had placed restrictions on the widely used abortion drug mifepristone. As the litigation moves through the courts, a process which could take months, the decision considered a victory for the Biden administration and abortion rights supporters following the overturning of Roe v. Wade.
With more, we are joined by California Congresswoman and candidate for the U.S. Senate, Barbara Lee. Congresswoman, great to see you.
Nice seeing you, Alex. Good being with you.
You have been open and honest about your own personal experience with abortion in the past. I'm curious about your reaction to what the Supreme Court just did and what we need to do going forward.
Yes, thank you. And you know, the abortion which I spoke of was way before Roe versus Wade. It was when abortions were illegal in California and Texas and Mexico, and I actually had to go to Juarez for an abortion. It was a back alley abortion, and I was terrified. I understood that could be put in jail because just like now, it was illegal in some states here, and women are being criminalized. So fast forward to here we are today. The Republicans, the right-wing extremists in this country are trying to really establish a national abortion ban. This mifepristone decision is another step in that direction. Thank goodness the Biden administration filed, and now we won the appeal, but it's not over. The status quo exists. It's accessible, it's affordable, and in fact, we're going to have to keep fighting and stay vigilant because for now, we have a reprieve. But this is the safest form of abortion. The majority of women use mifepristone for abortion care, and in fact, it's scientifically concluded over the last 20 years that it is safe, and that the efficacy has been determined by the FDA.
Well, speaking of the Supreme Court, I want to get your thoughts on the idea of reform because, of course, you are hoping to become a U.S. Senator. If you are, then you have significant jurisdiction over the Supreme Court. So let me get your thoughts on reform. Do you think that the Supreme Court should be reformed, whether that's increasing the number of justices or setting term limits?
Absolutely. First of all, I don't support term limits for elected officials. But for appointed officials such as Supreme Court justices, I believe that there should be term limits, and I believe in the fact that the Supreme Court has to be reformed. I mean, when you look at the ethics violations, for example, such as what's taking place now with Justice Thomas, it's outrageous. So we need to go back to the drawing board and look at what really brings forth a Supreme Court that really fights and stands for equal justice under the law for everyone.
Is that potentially more justices so that, you know, this Roe v. Wade decision could be rethought?
Well, I don't know. We have to determine that. I'm not sure if it means more judges or if it means term limits, but it certainly needs reform. And talking with a variety of lawyers and judges, there are different ideas. The commission that the president had put forth didn't come up with very many, solutions and alternatives. Right. But I think we need to look at everything. Everything should be on the table.
Let's talk for a moment about what's happening with California in the Senate. Of course, Dianne Feinstein is home in San Francisco dealing with shingles. She's missed several months of voting. That has stopped some of these liberal justices from going forward. Your campaign co-chair, Ro Khanna, is leading the charge for Feinstein to step down. Do you agree with Ro Khanna that it's time for her to step back, or do you disagree with him?
Let me just say, Alex, I've said this over and over again. My concern, and my primary concern, is Senator Feinstein's health. She issued her statement. She wants to get back to work. She deserves every bit of respect to allow her the decision as to when she's going to return. And in fact, that's my primary concern. I've said that over and over again. And many have different points of views, but my point of view is I hope she gets well quickly and has a speedy recovery so she can get back to work. It's her decision to make.
And if she were, though, to step back, you would accept an appointment, right?
Well, let me say, I'm not going to interfere in the governor's process. The governor committed to appointing an African-American woman, but that is his decision, and he has his process, and I don't believe there should be any interference in that process.
Okay.
Okay, well, In terms of your Senate campaign, you are behind in fundraising. You're also behind in the polls. So moving forward, what is the strategy for closing both of those gaps?
Well, you know what? Campaigns aren't all about money, first of all. Secondly, this is an example of not having public financing of campaigns. We'll raise enough money to run the type of campaign we can run. Look at what Mayor Bass did, $9 million versus $100 million. And I'm not saying that the state is Los Angeles, but I am saying that when you run a campaign based on grassroots organizing, based on voter registration, based on going straight to the voters who know that you care about them, you have a progressive record, you fought for them, and you intend to continue to fight for their future and for a better life for everyone in California. It takes money, yes. But again, women, black women, women of color, there are many challenges and many barriers. And so we have to get to public financing of campaigns. But that's not going to stop me, because we're raising the money that we need to win and to make sure that we do our media campaign and our field campaign, our ground campaign, and our voter registration. We're taking our message directly to the voters, and we are amassing quite a few endorsements that really I'm so proud of.
And of course, one of those endorsements is Mayor Karen Bass, who is backing your campaign and will help with that campaign here in Los Angeles. Another campaign that a lot of people are paying close attention to is the presidential race. Joe Biden expected to announce tomorrow. But some poll numbers here that over the weekend from NBC News, 70% of people in the country think that he should not run again. 48% say age is a major reason. He's got a 41% job approval, 54% job disapproval. Are those numbers concerning to you? Do you think maybe the American people have it wrong about Joe Biden?
I think, first of all, President Biden and Vice President Harris have done a phenomenal job. Remember, they came in during the height of COVID, right after Donald Trump almost destroyed our democracy. They saved lives and livelihoods through their COVID response. They passed the infrastructure bill, the COVID vaccine bills. They passed many of our manufacturing bills, the CHIPS bill. They made sure that they led an agenda that included equity in all of its policies. They've created jobs, and it's really amazing the kind of work that they have done in such a short amount of time with a Republican now, of course, with Kevin McCarthy as Speaker. But when Nancy Pelosi was Speaker and when we had the majority, this president and the administration and the House Democratic majority and the Senate, we passed phenomenal legislation that created jobs, that created better lives for everyone, and we still have a long way to go to help reduce the cost of living. But I think the president's record speaks for itself, and yes, he still has a lot of work to do.
All right, so it sounds like you adamantly disagree with 70% of Americans who took part in that NBC poll. We thank you so much for your time tonight, Congresswoman and U.S. Senate candidate Barbara Lee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great to see you. Still to